We're talking a lot about instinct as a producer here, and although Jay Joy's area of expertise is primarily dance music, as a producer working with artists and bands like Chris, do you think your instinct for what's the right thing is part of the secret of being a producer?
I think it's very much that, and I think that's one of the reasons why it will help an artist if they've got somebody like a producer on board. It's sort of like also being a film director. If you're an actor, you really need a film director to help you kind of get and tread your path through making the album or the single that you're going to be doing, because there are, as Chris said earlier, there are so many kind of facets to making an album or making a project or finishing a piece of music that as an artist you don't want to be kind of looking after all those areas yourself. You want to be able to have somebody who can take charge of that and also delegate to other people and to create a team around you.
All musicians need guidance, and you know, when we write a song, we know where we want to go, but obviously a producer can open up a lot of doors and everything. Plus it's very important for a producer. Every producer I've worked with has always made the extra effort to try and help us on a psychological point of view,
right,
and try and understand the band, not just, okay, these guys are a rock band, so let me try and push them to that market. No, I've worked with lots of producers who have tried to understand what we want to do.
We talked a little earlier about when you worked with Eno, and this big wall of things that he would write up, and the way you described chunks of music.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, because I was fascinated about it.
You know, everybody has their own different way of working, and that's part of the joy of having different people in your team. And something like Eno, he's incredibly inspirational, and one of the ways that he'll get a band to remember certain ways of maybe treating a chorus or treating a bridge or an intro or something is he'll give them the name of a country. Like he'll call the chorus Alaska, or he'll call the bridge Canada, or let's say if we're going to do the bridge with an E minor bass to it or something, then we'll call it New York. Okay, so then on a big whiteboard he'll have all the names of the countries, and as he's routining the song he'll just with his stick just point to the countries, and because of this association, as a musician you sort of find it much easier to link those pieces together rather than thinking of different chord structures. It's something that sort of embeds itself in you much easier, and you can throw things around a lot quicker.
Sounds great. So he kind of take you on a journey around the world.
Yeah, and then we end up with a route map around the world, and then he writes that out and we play this route map.
My production partner, funnily enough, was a guy that was making music on his PlayStation. And when I heard what he did on his PlayStation, I said, this guy's a natural born genius. He's called Joe Micali. He also produces music, obviously, for himself, you know. Yeah. And when I saw him make music on a PlayStation with really limited, you know, equipment and all, and the sounds and all that, I just said, this guy's got it, you know. So there are so many kids out there that are probably making this music, you know, and doing all these experiments with their computer, and deep down they have the talent.
I would like to know what the producers look in a band for it to be successful, you know. There are a lot of...
I look for a true performer, someone who really knows their craft in their songwriting and on stage, that can communicate with an audience and make themselves very at one with the audience. So the people are understanding and feeling what the song you're performing, what you're giving out.
I think the art of production is the crafting of the song, crafting of the record, putting the team together.
I mean, if you've got a band that, for example, that have got an amazing song or amazing album, fantastic singer, look great, but the guitarist just can't cut it. He's just not working. Do you find yourself in a position where you have to say, look, I'm in charge of this, and this guy really can't do
well, yeah,
justice,
but I wouldn't
for
go
example.
into the studio unless I'd figured that out before.
Right.
And I wouldn't waste time and money to go in with part of the band that weren't really up to the others.
But even before it started, if you were routining or just seeing the band and you were interested in producing them, or maybe you were commissioned to the label or the management.
Well, I'd bring an outside player in,
right,
and explain it to the weaker performer that sorry, but this is You might be okay with the band on the road, but for the record, it's not really happening. So.
When you first started recording and you went into the studio, the first time you worked with a producer, did it feel awkward, uncomfortable, or did you find a producer that made you feel at ease when you started?
It was awkward and scary because we had a certain style we had a certain direction where we wanted to go, and we weren't sure that the producer could understand us, like I said, from a psychological point of view. Because as a band going to a studio working with a producer, first thing I told the others, listen, the producer's going to give us certain ideas. Some we might not like. If our drummer's really happy with his drum beat, it could be a producer comes along and says, listen, just isn't right, isn't working. And you have to be, you have to swallow your pride sometimes, because as musicians we are quite proud and we don't like being told what to do. I mean, that's the truth,
And during the next few minutes, you're going to see some adverts at home. And we promise we're not going to talk about anything interesting or important until you come back. So don't touch that dial. We'll see you again in 2 or 3 minutes after this. Welcome back to the Let's Talk Music hotbed discussion about production and producers. Now, the other thing we want to tell you about is Second Life. Every week since we started Let's Talk Music, we have been simulcasting our show into the virtual world of Second Life, into the Vault Theatre, which is in virtual Dublin. And in that theatre, I think we're going to have a look at it on the monitor in just a second. In that theatre, you will see some digital avatars who represent me and our panel members. And you will hear the sound of what's happening here. And we're going to take questions from our Second Life. So, before we do all of that, though, we're going to have some more live music. And our live performer this week is a fantastic and incredibly talented singer. Her name is Carrie. Will you put your hands together and welcome to the Let's Talk Music studio, the fantastic Carrie?